Eraserhead was directed by David Lynch and stars Jack Nance as Henry. The story is about Henry, whose girlfriend has a baby, except there's one problem. They're not sure if the baby is really a baby at all. It looks more like a fetus, larger than life, almost alien-like. And the story is about Henry having to deal with the fears of parenthood and how to deal with it. Eraserhead is a very unique film, unlike anything I've seen before, which I've said that a lot before, but this is very different. David Lynch has created something that is very bizarre, and honestly, I really liked it. Yeah, I really liked this movie, which is weird because I was actually not looking forward to ever seeing this film. I know David Lynch in the past has made some very bizarre things, and I've heard that this film is almost uncomprehendable, but actually, it's really not that hard to understand. In fact, it's very simplistic. Yes, there are the very bizarre and avant-garde moments that David Lynch is known for, but there is a straightforward story that you can follow, which is that of Henry dealing with being a father. And the movie follows through with that. The film is very bizarre and very weird, with a lot of surrealist imagery, but it never takes away from the real plot of the story. And I think that's what works for me. I was able to follow the movie even with the bizarre imagery. And in fact, in some cases, I understood what the bizarre imagery was trying to tell me. Others, not so much. Now, let's get into what I really liked about the film. I love Jack Nance as Henry. Jack Nance has become one of my favorite actors, mostly because I've seen him in the show Twin Peaks, and this is where him and David Lynch's relationship began. He plays Henry very well, and he has a lot of good comedic timing, and it's crazy the lengths he went to for this role. The film shot over, I think, about 6 years, and he kept the same hairstyle, which I tried to mimic, as you can tell, but clearly failed. He's just very charming and very awkward, and it's just so great. It's just so fun watching him try to deal with things that are just out of his control, like trying to take care of his own child or having to deal with his in-laws. It's very funny. There's a lot of funny scenes in this film, but also the really funny scenes can also be horrific. There's this scene early in the film where Henry has to cut one of the chickens that was made for dinner, and blood starts squirting out, and it's just very, very weird and very funny because the chicken's wings start moving, and it's just, it's so bizarre, but just something about it is really, really funny. Also, I think my favorite image of the film is probably the very first scene of the film, which is actually the most bizarre sex scene you'll ever see in your life. The film starts out with Henry's head floating in space, and then there's these tentacle looking things which are supposed to represent sperm. They fall onto this planet, and it's supposed to represent the sperm going into the egg, and it's just done so weirdly, and you don't know what's going on at first, but you can really infer it if you look hard enough. And it was just really fun. Also, another thing about this film that a lot of people talk about still to this day is the baby. Now, I told you earlier that the baby is not like any other baby you've ever seen. It's more like an alien of sorts, and it's very scary. It looks like a puppet. It could be a puppet, but a lot of people seem to think that it was actually a baby calf or something like that he used. In fact, David Lynch has never went out and said what that baby was made of, if it was a puppet, if it was real. In fact, he blindfolded the person operating it, which, yeah, there's a mystery that will probably never be solved, but it's really interesting because The baby looks very real and very flesh-like, which makes me believe that it is something real and not just a puppet. It can be seen as very disgusting, but it didn't bother me at all. I was just too taken away by the visuals and how much fun I was having in the movie to worry about something like the baby. Honestly, Eraserhead's a very hard film to talk about because I don't want to say too much because I'm not sure if I understand everything in it. Such as there's this scene later on in the film where Henry looks into a radiator in his room and there's this little lady dancing and singing inside it. And I don't know what it means. There's a lot of things in the film that are bizarre that I can understand, but this I still don't get. It's very interesting, but very bizarre and just something that might be going way over my head. But other than that, everything else in the film is pretty straightforward if you look hard enough. This film is so weird and very bizarre that I don't know if I can really recommend it unless you're into something like this. Because Eraserhead is one of those movies that could probably make you very mad. Because it's very different than most other films. It's not a conventional film in any sense of the word. It's bizarre with more attention to visuals than story. The story is there, but the visuals and the metaphors in it are front and center. Actually, a fun fact, the script for this film was 21 pages, and the film is 88 minutes. So, usually a screenplay is about a minute per page, so they had a 21-minute script, and David Lynch stretched it into 88 minutes. And that makes the film feel like it doesn't have any structure, when it really does. The problem is that people just don't understand that the film feels long and stretched out because it is. And honestly, I never got bored while watching it. It went by really fast, and altogether, I loved it. I love Jack Nance. I love David Lynch, and seeing his first film was a real treat, and I plan on seeing more of his stuff. Anyway, guys, with all that said, Eraserhead gets an 8 out of 10. Yeah, Eraserhead is a very bizarre movie, and I don't think I can recommend it like I could recommend anything else. It's just a very acquired taste and very different from anything you'll ever see. But if you want to check it out, I say do so. You might be surprised, or you might just find it as artsy fartsy bullcrap. I don't know. Well, guys, this was actually part of a new series that I'm doing where I plan on reviewing every single David Lynch film ever made, and this was the first, and I hope to review The Elephant Man soon, so look forward to that, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. But anyway, guys, with all that said, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.